All right, I am Jeff. I'm still in the Euro pound. It's been just sitting there, right? Getting ready for that explosion. Hopefully to the long side. So can everybody see my screen okay? Yeah, we've got 9 horses and picked up a new one for my daughter, one of my daughters. All right, great. All right, so again, let's first talk big picture, then I'll show you some opportunities and so forth. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I wouldn't have been surprised to continue hitting new highs and then kind of be where we're at from 2 weeks ago, and it's just kind of the way we are right now. Markets, and I talked about this last night, if any of you attended my Bollinger Band webinar. But remember, markets consolidate a lot. And I know a lot of you get frustrated, especially doing options where if you don't hit it perfectly and then price just kind of goes up slowly, you don't make a lot of money, right? And that's why, large investors, even though the returns aren't as large, right, they trade the actual stocks because then you don't have time to tick. I'm going to present a new strategy soon, though. I've used to do a lot more spreads, and then honestly, with the service and that I have, my alert service, a lot of people, if they don't understand spreads, would do them wrong, and they can be dangerous if you end up having a one-sided spread trade and you don't realize it and stuff. So anyway, consolidation is normal, and even in a strong uptrend like the indexes, okay, you're going to get these highs and these pullbacks, right? We had a divergence right here, and again, what that means, it doesn't mean the next bar is going to be to the short side. We don't know when, right? So the actual trigger then, would have been right here, okay, right here, and now it finally headed down a little bit. But it's very interesting right now with me big picture, because one of the things is this. Bill, I'm going to make a note here. I mean, I know you're on our list, and I don't know why you don't get on it. So let me hold on. Let me make a note right now I thought I even had them manually add you. So I don't know if it's going to spam, but I think you said you've checked. But anyway, so with this uptrend, you're going to get pullbacks. And what I'm waiting for is the next pullback to this white, right? This 50 period. Again, if you curious on my averages, moving averages, okay, I've got a 50, a 15, and an 8. Okay. But I do think we're going to head lower before we head higher now. Only because when I say I think, I'm not really thinking about it. My internal indicators are showing that. Okay, my internal indicators are showing that. So it's very interesting to me that price has been going up. Now we're consolidating down. A lot of buyers are coming in on these wicks, right? I mean, that's very bullish, folks. But if this Laguerre does trigger, okay, close below the red here, the 0.8 with the red Hackenacci, I do think we're going to have a bigger fall. Okay. One of the trades I did is the Russell. It's been a little bit weaker. Okay. It came down today. It almost came about 3/4 of my profit target, but it's heading down. But again, you've got the Laguerre in the red dot. Now, I was mentioning this earlier to somebody. This does not mean I think all of a sudden the Russell's going down to 22,080. I'm just looking to get a faster move on this. Okay, hit profits, get some money, and then I'm much more bullish than bearish. But it doesn't mean you can't take those short trades. Okay? I mean, if you look at back here, when the Laguerre trigger with the red Hackenacci, you had this move right here. You took some heat, and then you had this move. So, it's a very, very good indicator when you have the Laguerre and the Hackenacci in alignment, okay, to make some money on that side as well, okay? Now, I think there's more risk. Retailers are starting to get heavily short again, folks. So what does that mean? When retailers are starting to get more and more short, what do you think the market's going to probably do big picture? Not even big picture, small picture. That's right, Chris, right? We're going to go higher, probably pretty significantly when it happens. So I'm hoping we see a larger pullback first, then there'll be some fantastic opportunity. Okay, again, let me just bring up the NASDAQ. Okay, NASDAQ obviously has been much more volatile anyway, right? And so it's come down now to this 50 period. And again, there's support there. Okay, I have a feeling we're going to break through this a little bit further and then make a reversal higher. So I'm also keeping an eye on the Qs and everything else for some short plays. Even though all the other internals are saying bullish, it doesn't mean that we can't have a move against that. I'm just not looking to position for longer term plays, right? And when I say my internals, seasonals long, retailers are short, which is bullish. I've got my sentiment indicator here, strong bullish. Okay, so big picture, very, very bullish on these moves. But when you get these triggers, okay, you can take them in both directions. You just got to be careful. The ES, S&P, again, we don't know if this is going to actually trigger or not, but we got red Hackenacci now, and we're getting close. So nothing would surprise me to see a little pullback this week, then screeching higher. Okay, as long as retailers continue to add into their shorts, then I believe absolutely we're going to head much higher. Okay, we also have a nice within a seasonal bullish move coming towards the end of May here. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a couple weeks. So, with that's kind of where I feel that, we're at is consolidation to the downside, I believe, and then we're going to head higher. If you look at Bitcoin, where is my Bitcoin? Very volatile, right? Big swings, 3,000 points a day. During my live day trading room, gentleman Jeff, I don't know if he's on here or not. Jeff. Hey, Jeff. He was mentioning that now Bitcoin has a micro. You just got to get permissions. So those of you that like to trade Bitcoin and Thinkorswim now, you can start. You just got to call them and ask for them. I think he said mini is what it's called now. Okay, so I think margins less than 3,000 a contract. But again, very, very volatile. But this is going to hit new highs soon as well, right? I mean, there's no indication on Bitcoin that we shouldn't head higher. It's been respecting this 50 period and in a monster uptrend. A lot of big institutions are starting to pick it up, big picture on a lot of these crypto plays. I think this is going to be super cheap 2 years from now. Okay. I'll talk more about my sentiment here in the future. I'm still experimenting, adjusting some settings. That's why you'll see some things on my chart sometimes, but then I won't talk about it, is because I do this a lot and then I don't like something. This is fantastic, but there's some things I put out there, I test, and then I don't, if it's not significant, I don't use it or sell it because it's just a waste. Okay. All right. So let's look at crude oil. So we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, crude should head higher. For some reason, I'm having issues finding it. Here it is. Okay. This should not be surprising at all. Okay. You might look and say, well, the seasonal is not the greatest. It's more sideways to up. And you're right. But remember, if you have a sideways to up market and you're in an uptrend, a solid overall uptrend on crude, right? You can look at that. Okay. That's good enough. And retailers are shorting more than they're going long on crude. Okay, so this was a pretty easy trade when you got this trigger here and this Laguerre. Okay, it went against you a little bit sideways, and now it's going to hit these new highs here, pretty soon. Okay, but with swing trading, you got to be patient. You got to be okay with the risk, or you shouldn't take it. Okay. Thanks, Jeff, for that information. Now, again, if you like crude, but the daily's too much for you, look at something like a 4-hour, okay? So again, we had a great trigger here on the 4-hour, 9 o'clock on Monday, okay? 9 o'clock on Monday, you put your stop right under here. So let's say you put your stop at, let's just say $63 for easy math, okay? If we got in on this bar at the open right here, it was 64. Let's say you're risking roughly $1 to $1.20, okay? So let's say it was, $1,200 a contract risk there. Okay, if you're okay with that, let it ride, right? And then obviously your exit point would be, hot red Hockenacci, you're out. Okay, you made a nice profit from 60, let's see, right here, it opened at 64. You're up over 2,000 a contract, then you had a retracement. So it's definitely a little bit more than a 1-1 risk reward if you're out of that now, but you can wait for the next trigger on the 4-hour. And you can do that all the time. Okay, it happens a couple times a week at some point. Here was last Thursday at 9. Okay, you put your stop below here, it came close again, and it didn't, and you made money again. So if you don't have a larger account or you don't want to risk certain money, go to the smaller time frames in the direction of that bullish activity. Okay, and absolutely, if you're not trading the futures, you can trade ETFs on all of that, right? You can do that on almost anything now. Okay, so you can do the same thing here on that 4-hour with USO as one example that Chris was saying. Okay. One of the things I'm thinking about doing in my alert services, talking with one of my VIP members, had a great point. Instead of going off of just daily triggers, once I get a daily trigger, wait for the 4-hour to trigger. Does that mean we'll miss some? Yes, but we'll take less risk. And where that can be advantageous, right? If you're not as willing to take a little bit larger risk on these swings, getting in on a 4-hour can reduce some of that. Okay, so I'm thinking about it. Again, the issue is, as you know, I'm not going to be at the computer all day, every 4 hours looking for trades. Okay, that's not my lifestyle. That's not why I got into trading. That's why for me, the daily's always been good enough. But those of you that are spending more time in front of the computer and you want less risk, once you have a trigger off the daily, go to that 4-hour or the hour. Okay, again, let me just show you. So let's say you did the hour instead on crude. Maybe you only look to trade 3 or 4 things, right? So you had your trigger, and you can see these type of moves. And now you're waiting for that next long on USO, right? See that? We don't know if it's going to be what hour coming up, but when it does trigger, there you have it, right? Back in the direction of that uptrend. Okay, so you can do all multiple time frames. Just be consistent with it. If daily is a little bit riskier for you. Okay. Right. So bonds. Okay, I'm back on the daily, folks. So this is really interesting to me this year. Again, bonds have been so boring for me. When they weren't following patterns, I've ignored them. We did have a fantastic divergence play here. Got in, you would have made money, then it comes back, and we didn't get double divergence. But those of you that use divergence know how effective that is. But here now we're just consolidating at that 50 period, right? Seasonal, we're kind of flat until the summer, right? I love the summer bond trade. Okay, we'll see if it looks that good this summer as well. Okay, but the July, August long in bonds, I think I've made really good money the last 5 or 6 years on that. Okay, and it looks like at this point, maybe we're going to continue having higher lows. Sorry about that, and continue up that trend break, probably coming back up at some point to where we started. Okay, that's how a lot of these markets work, right? So right now, I'm just kind of waiting on bonds, not doing a whole lot with them right now. All right, dollar index. So I have a long play right now on the dollar index. And again, you can, I'm showing futures right now on a lot of these, but you can trade, as you know, for some of the new folks coming in here, you can trade, ETFs and that as well. I usually start with my overview with some futures and some stocks, and then I go and talk a little bit more about stocks. I know most of you, trade options. You know, my concern right now on the dollar index is, we got a combo trigger and it's gone up, it's doing well, but we're kind of getting some 50 moving average resistance here. So I may take smaller profits. We'll see how it looks at the end of the day, just because we were in a pretty massive downtrend, and now it's just going to roll right back over. You can see seasonality wise, it's not super significant, right? And again, my overall sentiment is strong bearish. Okay, so I think it could roll over. I was hoping I could get profit target 1 first on the dollar index. All right, Euro US dollar. See, we had a combo trigger short here. You can see from a seasonal perspective, we typically bottom mid-May, so that was a good opportunity, almost a double top to make money on the short side. Let me clear that out. These are some old trades. Okay. So, now, what's it going to do? But combo trigger short are usually going to make you money. And, who knows, we could continue down. I don't know if you've looked at sentiment lately, but on the euro, it's about 60% of traders are short. Okay. So what that tells me, if it stays that way, bringing up the euro futures as well. Okay. It looks obviously identical. This may just be a retracement to the 50 and then heading higher, because 60% of retailers right now are short this. Okay. Right. The VIX. Boring VIX, right? When we do get that next spike, I might even hold a special webinar so we can all make money together on that. Okay. But for now, we're just kind of letting it do its thing. And you can see from a seasonal here, the green forecast, pretty sideways here. So there's no significant advantage on the VIX. So when we get some crazy news that comes out at some point in time and we get the next spike, we'll be looking to short that spike when we get that new entry to the short side. Okay, so keep the VIX on your radar, get comfortable with it, and so forth. All right, so some of the things I'm looking at, folks, let me just grab a few of these. So Broadcom, let me tighten this up just a tad. Okay. So Broadcom is one of my favorites to trade this time of year. And we've been fortunate enough, it's been having a hard time breaking above this 490, and then it falls back down. Okay, so I'm looking for a long play here. I'm not even concerned about earnings. Earnings is normally positive on Broadcom. But when we start getting some green Hackenacci, I'm looking to do a trigger on Broadcom, probably a spread trade on this. But I love it long. So keep that on your radar for a long play. Just wait for that green Hackenacci in an agreement with the Laguerre, and we'll probably come back up at least to that 485 level pretty quickly on Broadcom. Okay. Yeah, it did. It's funny you mentioned that. Absolutely, a broken side of that Bollinger Band, Chris. Yep, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And usually that's a divergence, at least back to that mean. To your point, good job. Okay, so I'm just looking at here. Google's another one. Strong bullish pullback. These are going to be new and good entries at some point. We also have a strong data mining on Google. Okay, basically, if you enter on May 24th and you exit late July, you've made money on that 15 out of 16 years. Okay, about 8 to 10%. So what I'm knowing that, what I'm waiting for is that as big of a pullback we can get as we get a little bit closer here towards the end of May. I like Google to the long side. Okay. for a lot of reasons, but certainly from a pure seasonal data mining standpoint as well. Okay. All right, let's see here. So just going to look, see if there's, so one question is, what is a sentiment indicator base? Oh yeah, I said I'll talk more about my sentiment indicator here in the future. I'm still playing with the recipe on that, but okay. So to see if there's any questions on things that somebody wanted to look at before I get into some more stuff. Doesn't look like it. So if I miss something, retype it. Okay. So one of the things I'm looking at as well, you know, and it's funny because when I have my mentoring sessions, I love them for a lot of reasons, but it then forces me to look at my tools all the time. And, you know, I always go back and I tell people if I only had one tool, it'd be my data mining. And I'm not here to sell that to people that don't have it today. That's not the purpose of this call. But the reason I bring that up, I mean, there's some crazy opportunities, okay? Let me give you one. And again, nothing's guaranteed, so don't go do something stupid. But just to kind of give you a feel for this, okay? So on SBAC, and this is coming up in June. But what I love about it is we're in a nice uptrend, right? So if you were to enter long on June 14th and exit on July 27th, it's gone 9% higher and as an average, okay, 20 out of 21 years. So what I'm saying is 95% of the time, mid-June to the end of July, SBAC goes higher, let's just say roughly 10%, okay? So have that on your radar. What am I looking for? I would love to see this come back down here in the next week or two to this 50 period and give us a new trigger. That will be sweet if that happens, okay? But it may not. It may do something like this. So as we get just a little bit closer, you know, if that happens, again, ways to enter into these phenomenal opportunities is go in a smaller time frame and wait for like a 4-hour trigger within that time frame, okay? So keep this on your watch list, knowing the crazy probabilities coming ahead of that, okay? As long as you manage your risk right, okay, you're going to do very well on some of these unbelievably high profitability trades, okay? Chris, if you send me an email, I can send you some stuff on the data mining and what it is and stuff, okay? But basically what it is I once a year, I've got a library of my favorites, futures, Forex, and stocks. I rerun the numbers and calculate windows of opportunity that something's made money, okay? So like SBA, okay? Again, from June 14th, and I don't go in just off of the dates. I use triggers within those dates, but if you did just go over the last 21 years, if you literally went long on June 14th on SBAC, and you exited on July 27th, you made money 20 out of 21 years, okay? Think about that. Now you get me fired up. How incredible is that? If somebody in the old days called you up as a broker and gave you that tip, what would you do with that, right? You wouldn't sleep. Well, we have that data. I mean, that's how I live and breathe, getting these high probability opportunities and using them, okay? And using those high probability. Why is that? Because what happens is institutions are all about habits. And they're looking at the same information I'm looking at, okay? And they're realizing everyone does that. All the big movers buy at that window. And remember, institutions aren't like you and I. They don't just buy on one day and one transaction and they're done, right? They take days, weeks, and months to add to their positions, okay? So I'm loving this one. The recent uptrend, bullish from a sentiment standpoint, weekly green Hackenacci. I'm just hoping we get a little bit more of a pullback coming up, to be honest with you. It'll give me a little bit better entry, okay? Yeah, I'm sorry. So data mining is a type of seasonality. Yep, you got it. Okay, so CRM is another good one, right? So it typically goes higher. We've had this nice move down. You know, what if it comes back here to this 208 and then gives us another entry, right? there seems to be some really good, really good support here, like roughly right here, right? So if it comes back right around here and then gives us that Laguerre trigger long, I love it back up here. It may not hit new highs, but I love it. So, these are some things that I'm looking at right now. And I just wanted to share those little gems with you as well, okay? All right, so while we're on the topic of the seasonal data mining, let's look at something else. Because again, you can keep it on your own watch list, right? Southern. So again, the bummer right now is it's at highs, right? Well, at least it was. But come on and pull back Southern, because what'll happen is between right about now and August, okay, it's gone higher 34 out of 38 years. Yes, 34 out of 38 years. It's gone about 8% higher on average, okay? So the bigger the pullback here in the near future, and then the return to the upside, having a 92% probability is going to go higher over 38 years of data. Again, keep that on your watch list, folks, okay? All right, let's take a look at, I got a couple requests for Netflix. So, Netflix had that earnings and it was great earnings, but the forecast was saying, we don't know. We may only get 1 million new subscribers, right? Folks, Netflix is going to be just fine. But look at all this support right here, right? Roughly at 500. Okay. So if it holds here and you get a nice trigger, you could definitely ride this up and just have a stop, let's say, sorry about that, about 490. Okay. One of my 3 German Shepherd. This one's my puppy, and he thinks he's a killer. All right, so these are kind of what I'm looking at on Netflix. Okay, I don't have an open position right now on Netflix. That's right. All right. We also had a nice pullback on AMD, right? And so again, you can see beautiful seasonal, basically looking like a trend line support possibly here. Had earnings, it came up and now it came down. Again, you guys can figure out earnings and try to digest that. That's something that's a 50% trade. But yeah, so AMD, I don't have any position on here. If I did, I'd be holding and then I'll add in when we get a new trigger, but I don't have a position. So when I get a trigger long, I'll definitely look to, do a longer term play, probably like a September expiration on AMD, okay? Broadcom, again, one of my favorites, strong bullish as well. We'll hit new highs soon on Broadcom. In fact, let me see if I can find, yeah, that's the one. So if you enter on May 11th, just off the date, May 11th, and you exit on June 29th, you've made money 11 out of 11 years, an average profit of 7%, just by entering in and exiting on those dates, okay? So again, I'm not recommending that necessarily, but what I'm saying is when we get a trigger soon here, in that strong seasonal window. Now, granted, they've only got 11 years of data, so that's not nearly as strong as something that's got 40 years, right? But there's already a seasonal buy coming, and we'll probably hit new highs on Broadcom in the next month, okay? And I'll show you one more that I want to talk about, because again, it's incredible, okay? And I like to share this stuff with you guys. So PEG, the reason I'm bringing it up today is we hit a new high recently. Okay, we had this divergence and here it goes. Okay, earnings. So what, all of a sudden now PEG, it's garbage, right? I doubt it. So let me give you the data on PEG. Okay, if you enter on May 9th and you exit on July 2nd, okay? So let's just call it May and June, so 2 months, right? it's made money 93% of the time, an average of 8%. But guess how many years I'm giving you? 41. So it's made money 38 out of 41 years. Incredible, okay? 38 out of 41 years. Just by entering on those dates, it made you an average of 8%. Again, I don't do that. I wait for triggers. So now I'm waiting for this to give me a new trigger. And it may end up being a 4-hour chart, okay? I'm going to keep an eye on PEG though, and that's going to be a high priority based on a 40 years of data, okay? Yeah, Hannah, so she said, can I explain the trigger of going long? So there's a couple ways, okay? The way I do most of the time, let me just blow this up a little bit, okay? In fact, let me get volume. Let me get volume out of here for right now. I don't use volume much anyway. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the Laguerre RSI, it's something I use as my favorite trigger. Okay, so once it goes into the green in this case, then comes back out, that's an opportunity. Okay, I don't go in right before earnings zone. This is why. Okay, it's a 50-50 shot. But like back here, okay, that was my trigger on 3-5. Okay, so now based on the information I just gave you, you know we've got a really bullish time coming up with high likelihood. Okay, again, nothing's guaranteed because even PEG, out of the 41 years, it didn't work 3 times. So this could be the 4th time this year. I don't know, right? But again, if somebody called me up and said 30 out of 41 years has gone up 8% on 5.9 to 7.2, do you want it? I mean, wouldn't we be stupid not to? Of course we want to take it, right? So I'm just waiting though for the next trigger. It may not come back down on the daily. It may though, but the other way to do that is you can just keep an eye on your 4-hour, okay? So this is the 4-hour chart on PEG. Potentially the next trigger long on the 4-hour could be your entry point, okay? One of the two, daily or 4-hour are my favorite 2 techniques, but I'm not just gonna guess, okay? I'm gonna wait for the Laguerre to show me. I'm gonna wait for this bar to turn green. It's a green Hakanachi bar. All my price candles are Hakanachi. Then I'm all in, okay? And I know the odds are extremely favorable that I'm gonna make money on that, okay? That makes sense? Yeah, so you can buy the stock outright. You can do option plays. Typically, when I do an option play, I like to go at least 3 months out. That's my personal preference. Okay, I like to give time on my side and so forth. Okay, but I'm not fancy. It's like right around at the money where the open interest is calls, roughly 3 months out or so, and there you have it. Okay. And again, the data I'm giving you is by buying the stock. Okay, option trades usually give larger returns, but I'm just giving you the actual stock because that's the only way I know how to do it from a pure data standpoint. Okay. So again, I didn't mean to make this a data mining webinar by any means, but there's just some really high probability trades coming. And so I just, those of you that just kind of tune in and watch a little bit, write them down, look for your triggers, and then come back to me in a month or two and let me know how you did. Okay. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about here, and at some point, Bill, we're going to get you on these distributions. I don't know what's going on with that, but absolutely, John, and that's the point. You got it. If you have that, that should be, like when you were a little kid, you had a little doll probably or something. That should be sleeping with you. I do it too still, okay? And I'm trying to automate some things, by the way, just because. But yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to put some Bollinger Bands on here now and just kind of show you something may or may not interest you, but it's a really good quick discussion. Sorry about that. I keep hitting the wrong. Okay. Most markets consolidate, even when they're heading higher, right? They're consolidating as they're going higher. So I got Bollinger Bands on here now. I know it's a little busy because I got the other stuff on there too. In fact, let me just take those off for a minute. which one did I miss here? Is that it? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So we got the upper band, the middle band, and the lower band, right? And the thought is when it breaks the top band or breaks the bottom band, at some point it's got to snap back. Okay. Now, absolutely, I prefer the snap back in the direction of the seasonal movement. Okay, but a lot of people either don't believe in seasonality, even though I just showed you data that is seasonal data, or it's not part of your trading plan. That's fine. Everyone's got their own, their own plans. But when I get a move in the direction of the seasonal, that excites me much more. Okay, but let me explain. So I'm going to do a scan, and it's the daily chart with weekly expiration stocks. Okay, and so what it's going to show you is these are the ones that were triggering, and again, this will be today, so it would be triggers that closed yesterday. Okay. And so let's say you want, I'm just going to pick one and show you on the chart, just kind of how it works. Okay. So what's happened is, let me blow this up a tad. What I'm looking for is not when it breaks above it. Okay. It could keep going and keep going. I want it to tell me when it comes down. Okay. So on this particular day, it closed below this band here after hitting the top band. Okay, so in theory, then this is what I'm looking. Again, this is right on earnings, folks, so we would not do this, but I'm just showing you. Okay, but even then, I'm not looking to just take it based off of being overextended and starting to bounce back. And I'll show a better example in a minute. But I'm just waiting now for a red Hackenacci. Okay, but let me see if I can find a better one. You can just kind of go through them and look at them and see if you like them, right? So again, here's one where, this is the bar we're looking at because this is today. So 2 days ago, it closed above the 2.5. Okay, I should clarify, this is 2.5 standard deviations away from the mean, not 2. I want a little bit bigger move. Okay, and this is a wide band. So in this case, you can even see a seasonal is more directionally short with a strong bearish sentiment. So this is a really good example that when I get a trigger, as you were asking about a potential short opportunity, okay, NOV could definitely be one here very soon once we get the red Hackenacci. Okay, absolutely. Okay, because you're stretched on the Bollinger Band. It went from above 2.5. Now it went in. Now it's kind of going back and forth here. But when you get a red Hackenacci, this could be your short play. Okay. Okay. One question is, yeah, absolutely, Bill. You could, absolutely. If you don't have the benefit of seasonality and the data behind it, you're absolutely right there. Absolutely right there. Yeah, it could be more of a range play too if you didn't know the seasonal movement. Okay. Let me go to a 4-hour. So I can change this to 4 hours, scan it, and I can do anything I want. Futures, Forex, stocks. So let's look at race. Okay. Let me go to a 4-hour chart. So again, what it's showing here is that we had it stretched, right? And now it's done, in theory, done stretching. So what am I waiting for though? I'm not just going long here. I'm waiting for the green dot or the Lagarde as trigger long here, right? This could be a really good opportunity, right? Look at the 5-year seasonal, okay? So you can use Bollinger Bands, my point is to look for things that are stretched. And then if you really like them in the direction of a seasonal, I think it's even more powerful, okay? But you don't even have to, seasonality of something, because the intent is this should at least go back to the mean, which is the middle band, okay? A lot of times it'll go right back to that middle band and then some, okay? But that's what this scan allows you to do. So let me bring up like Slack. Okay, same thing here. Now we've got green Hackenacci and Lagarde's saying, you know what? It may be time, right? It may be time. We don't have any seasonal data on this, but I do have a bullish sentiment. And you could do it very simple. Put your stop right below the low. If it doesn't work out, not too much harm. but it should go at least, if it stretches, it should go at least back to this 42.15 level. Okay, reverting to the mean, we call it. Okay. So that's how you can, look at some of those Bollinger Band scans and look to see if there's opportunities that you like. Okay. All right. So enough of that. Is there anything anybody wants me to look at? Again, we've got some time here. I wanted to focus on overall picture. I wanted to focus on the data mining just to show you some of that powerful, ridiculous amount of years and some of these, here's another one. You see, I just get fired up. Okay. So CERN, okay. I know it doesn't look like a great, pretty chart, but so here's the earnings. It's over now. Okay. I love it when it comes down because it's a bullish time coming. So it gives us a better entry. Okay. But what you don't know is 26 out of 30 years. Okay. So 26 out of 30 years from 5/14 to the middle of July, this has gone higher about 11%. Okay. So again, what I mean by that now is all I'm waiting for is the next trigger long and I'm going to take it. Okay. If it doesn't work out, I know going into it, out of 30 years of data, I've got an 87% chance of just going in by the dates. But if I wait for the actual trigger, it's going to be even higher, right? If I wait for Laguerre and Hackenacci to let me in this. Because what if it continues down, right? Then I just won't take it. Okay. So that's definitely how it works. Yep. All right, let me see. I think there's a couple questions. Just take a quick look here. Let me take a look at NWS. Sure. Sorry about that. It's got a 5-year seasonal, strong bullish sentiment. Again, you have earnings, right? Tomorrow. So I definitely wait till after earnings. But my bias is to the upside without question, right? I mean, it's looking pretty good, but you got to wait until earnings clears to see if it gives you that opportunity, right? Yeah, so one of the questions is if you want that Bollinger Band. So when you go to my website, seasonaltraderpro.com, let me just put that in there. Okay, under TOS, I don't have it for TradeStation yet, but it's coming. For TOS, see it says Dr. K Bollinger, which is new. So for TOS, Bollinger, okay, I have a special right now from yesterday's webinar, okay? And I can put this in the chat for you, sure. Okay, let me get back to the good stuff here. All right, so there is ETC. Oh, okay. Let's take a look, John. I'm not getting it on TOS right now. Oh, NETC, sure. So the scan itself, the Bollinger Band, again, what it's looking for, folks, isn't something that is 2.5 standard deviations away and then showing. What it's showing me is when it was at least 2.5 standard deviations away and then it's come back. Okay, that's what I've customized, because if something's 3 or 4 standard deviations, how do you know it's not going to be 5 or 6? Okay. What I have found is the best way to use Bollinger Bands with that strategy is let it come back and then let me know, okay, it was stretched, now it's come back and it's going to probably go to that mean. Okay, so that's how I use that. Okay. So NETC, come on, NETC, good seasonal. I got a bearish sentiment, but why is that not showing up now? But yet the weekly seasonal is. Bill, I personally like to, I don't go in more than a week early if there's earnings. Now there's some strategies I do on the side, but I don't do it publicly just because of the risk, right? But generally speaking, if you're going to do an option like a normal type option play trade, if you don't get in, you want to be in at least before a week before that, and then try to get out, because you're going to have that higher volatility. But I'm not sure why NATC is not showing up for me right now. Let's take a look at this one here. Bear with me. Yeah, so this one, again, there's no seasonal movement. It's in a massive downtrend. So what I'd be looking for is a short play on this with a trigger, right? With a trigger. But if I don't have seasonal data enough, like unless I know something that's very similar to it, okay, then there's other things I prefer that have shown me, seasonal moves, okay. I've never used Renko charts, Milton. I use tick charts, but I've never used Renko. But if you're wondering something like, let me just bring up my day trading stuff. Okay, if you're wondering, like on shorter time frames, this was like a Laguerre trigger at 1 o'clock. This was the nice trigger we had at 10:30. The Laguerre does a fantastic job on shorter time frames. Yeah. Okay, that's why that's my favorite. The Laguerre, especially combined with Hakanachi, is by far my favorite triggers, but I've been using that now for over almost 4 years now. Okay. All right, any other questions, folks? So again, remember, we're doing these every other week right now until fall. I am going to hold a webinar next week, I think, probably next Thursday. Talk a little bit more about Hakanachi as well. So you'll see something on that coming up. But again, big picture, let me go back to the S&P, or let me bring up this SPY, okay? I do think we're probably going to get a little bit more of a pullback here, but just a pullback, okay? This go away in May, I don't see it happening, but I do think we'll get a pullback unless retailers start going long, okay? So anything can change, obviously. That's why, we look at the internals every day. But overall, it's bullish. And so if I can get a little bit more of a retracement, just like I was looking for on that, right, that Russell trade, right? So again, I'm short the Russell, not looking for a big move, but I like the Hakanachi trigger and the dots, just looking for a little bit of profit and then get out. Okay, that's what I'm looking for on that. I do think big picture we're heading higher on all of those. Okay, Nvidia, same thing. Look at this great opportunity coming up here. Earnings is on the end of May, so we got some time. This could be a next new trigger long, right, to hit those new highs on Nvidia. So we got a lot of great opportunities. Just got to keep an eye on them and look for our direction, our triggers, and follow the rules. And we'll go from there, folks. Okay. All right. Yeah, so what I do, I'll talk one more time about the website. So on my website, let me go back just to seasonaltraderpro.com. The way I'm doing it right now is, let's say you're interested in something like, let's say the divergence indicator scan, okay? When you click on it, what I like to do from feedback people is I do, before purchase explanation of how I use it. And then if I've done a webinar on it, there's the webinar. That way you can kind of browse through with TradeStation or Toss. Let's say you want to know about Hakanachi. Okay, here's the demo on Hakanachi, how I use it and so forth in that. So yeah, I give some videos, and I'm always happy to share screen with people and explain things. Again, I'm just always available as things are needed. So with that, folks, have a great week ahead. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ever reach out to me. Thanks, folks. Good luck. Take care.